Alright then, new day. New day, new... Fuck, what? Where am I? Ah, right! Oh, shit. I just remembered, it didn't save yesterday. Let me just one... exact moment, lads. The moon had been awfully lovely that night. Takeru turned to look over his shoulder. It was past midnight. His little sister Yukari, who should have been fast asleep, was standing in the doorway.
眠れなかったのか。明日起きられないぞ。早く戻って寝ろよ。
どこ行くの?
She trotted up to him and clung to his knees. The hem of her favorite pink nightdress trailed along the ground.
汚れるぞ。
He crouched down and dusted off her hem.
お母さんも病院に行っちゃって、お父さんとゆかりだけになっちゃうよ。
And you left her in that situation? Seriously? My god, what a dumbass. Their mother had been taken to rehab facility. At least that's what they called it. In truth, it was a place to store the undesirables. Nobody ever returned alive, but he couldn't tell Yukari that. He told her instead that their mother was in the hospital. And now, the kind lady next door had agreed to look after Yukari. She had always been fond of his sister, and Yukari was too small to be much of a burden. Takeru would not have to worry about leaving her alone with their zombie-like father. I don't know, man. There was nothing left to keep him from joining Igra, except this. Yeah, I feel like that. I don't know. Is there really no other way to make money? Seriously? He had meant to leave for Toshima without catching his sister's notice, but now innocent eyes looked up at him, begging him to stay. Yeah. Unable to bear it, he hugged her tight. Oh god, this is so sad.
また仲良く一緒に暮らせるように頑張ってくるから。
Oh.
帰ってくるからな。絶対。
Look at him. He was so normal once upon a dream. This is so sad.
ゆかり待ってるね。
Yukari, don't let him go! Oh, man. Thin, soft arms wound tightly around him, and she embraced him with all of her strength. Her tiny warmth brought tears to his eyes.
お兄ちゃん、これあげる。
She pressed something into his hand.
お前、これ。
It was a simple silver rosary their mother had given her for her birthday. She wore it day and night.
あげる。
大切なものだろ。ちゃんと持ってろよ。
いいの。お兄ちゃん持って行って。お母さんがきっと守ってくれるよ。
Oh. His chest clenched. He was certain his heart would burst. Swallowing the lump in his throat, he accepted the rosary and kissed the top of her head. She will never see him again, and also never know what happened to him.
ありがとう。
Oh god, this is really awful.
どこか遊びに行こうな。
How could you do this? Takeru hung the rosary around his neck, wiped his eyes, and stood up. He patted his little sister on the head tenderly, reluctant to let her go.
それじゃあ、行ってくるから。兄ちゃんが戻るまで。
Yeah.
いい子にしてるんだぞ。
I don't know, man. I don't know.
いってらっしゃい。
She kept waving to him as he drew further and further away until he could no longer see her tiny form. He looked up. The moon was beautiful. Again, very creepy, not beautiful, and almost bright enough to blind him. Its shine lit the way forward. Until at last the darkness swallowed it. The sun had risen before he knew it. His body was exhausted, but he remained wide awake. Akira laid his leaden head against the backrest of the uncomfortable sofa. The crumbling ceiling filled his sight. Motomi was smoking on the sofa across from him, deep wrinkles carved into his furrowed brow. Beside him sat Rin, slumped over with his head on the armrest. Like Akira, neither of them had slept. Keisuke was still missing. If you wanted to go to ground in Toshima, it was easy enough to do so. The city was rife with tunnels and warrens and cubbyholes of all shapes and sizes. Keisuke must be hiding somewhere. At least that was what Akira had decided to think. Or maybe he went back to where you used to live. I don't know. The alternatives didn't bear contemplating.
ちょっくら
Or he
用事
went
が
to
あ
the
るんで
bar.
俺はそろそろ行くが
Oh my god, it's about time we all went and looked for Keisuke. Breaking their long silence, Motomi stood ponderously. A pile of cigarette butts lay at his feet. Oh, Rin is upset with us. Rin looked up at Motomi and saw him off with a tepid grunt. Everything seemed far away to Akira, a sure sign that his nerves were frayed. Something landed atop his head. It took him a moment to realize that it was Motomi's hand.
まあ気落とすなよ俺も探してみる何伊達に情報や名乗ってるわけじゃないからな
Thanks, Motomi. I like her most. Motomi's tone was light, but Akira could only manage the barest of nods in reply. After looking at him for a few more seconds, Motomi flashed a parting smile and left through the broken doors. Now Akira was alone with Ren, the two sitting on opposite sofas. The lobby was in constant motion, an ever-shifting stream of people walking past on their way in and out. Only in the space around Akira and Ren did the air remain still, as it had since last evening. Suddenly, Rin sprang up and stretched both arms high above his head, then clapped the sides of his face with his hands.
心配だけどさでもきっと大丈夫だよ危ない危ないっつってもなんだかんだ言って結構やってけるもんだからさおっさんも俺も探すしそんなに遠くに
Yeah,
は
maybe
行って
we
ない
should
と思うし
start looking for him, you know? I get that it was like nighttime and dangerous, but now it's daytime, right? Motomi also left. Maybe we should go. His voice deliberately bright, Rin plopped himself down next to Akira. The broken springs creaked beneath the added weight.
ねえねえ写真でも見よっか俺いつも持ち歩いてんの結構いい感じの写真とかあるんだよ
Sweetheart, we
見て見て
really, sweetie, we need to go look for. We really need to go out and look for him. Rin rummaged around in his waist pouch, then produced a bundle of photos. Akira let his gaze drift towards them.
これは処刑人の盗み取りでしょんでこれがねああそうそうタグ取りだ
Oh, yay! Look at them! They're really cute together. I don't know. I like it. I like it!
これがねあこれ懐かしいなブラスターで撮ったやつだ
Sweetie was in Blaster. His face brightening, Rin held out one of the photographs so Akira could see it as well. It showed a man, face covered with bruises, making a frantic effort to grab something.
こいつがさもうすんげえ勢いで相手に飛びかかってくのよボコボコにされてて血まみれなんだけどさそれでも諦めないで食ってかかってくの結局負けちゃったけどでもちょっと感動したかな俺ああいうやつ大好きゾクゾクしちゃう
ブラスターに参加してたのか
うんしてたよ言ったじゃんこう見えても結構強いんだって
So were you from the other side of the island? Not from the CLC, but from the other place, and that's why Akira doesn't know you?
ああ
おおそうだったんだ個人戦チーム戦どっち
個人戦のみ
ほうほう
ああ
俺逆にチーム戦オンリーだったからな
Akira's thoughts had been distracted. But this piqued his interest. Rin's eyes were sparkling too.
どこのエリアにいた
レイダ
ああの辺かなんか強いの集まってた気がしたな競合の地とかよく言ってたもん仲間内で
Rin cast his eyes upward and nodded several times as if recalling fond memories, but then his expression changed to a rueful smile.
俺さブラスター抜けたの結構前なんだけどさ今みたいなシステム化するのより
Hang
前の
on.
方が好きだったな
Is he a part of that Russian team? Like that team they all revered or some shit? Where they were like, oh yeah, they all went and probably let. Oh, wait. Cat. Stop. Don't eat everything you find around you. Freaking weirdo. Just gonna puke it out again. Okay. Sorry. I have an orange cat and he's very needy, okay? Okay. I left Blaster a while ago, but I liked how it was before when it wasn't all part of some system. Yeah. He's probably a part of that Russian team. I forgot its name. Kurosh? I don't know. I have no idea about Russian. He's part of the Borscht team. Probably, right? That's what I'm thinking. And his team probably went to fight Ilray or something, and some people died, and now he's like all messed up about it because they went to fight Shiki or something like that.
Ah.
And lost. Akira could sympathize with that.
でしょだよねやっぱそうだよねなんつか昔の方がさこうみんな元気よかったっつうか
Literally, huh? Rin was talking about the time before Blaster was Blaster, before it was divided into areas and ranks, teams and individuals. Akira hadn't been a fighter back then, but he'd gone to see the matches every chance he got. It had been an undeniably crude affair, where men got together for no other reason than to punch each other out in all alleyways. But there was also no denying that it had felt more real. Yikes. Just about all the fighters from the early days said that things were better back then. It had been a pure contest of strength. Win or lose, everyone was respected.
渋さみたいなのあったじゃないそれに憧れて最初は参加したんだ
Really?
よ
It
ね
sounds like the opposite.
なんか喧嘩して本当の仲間を見つけるっていうのかなそういうやつボッコボコになって腹の底から睨み合ってそんで仲良くなったらさもう
So
最高じゃん一番嫌な部分見せてんだもん
Yana boo
それ
boo.
以上壊れようがないよね
そうだな。
That's a funny word.
なんか変なルールを誰かが勝手に決め出しておかしくなってったよねやたら勝ち負けにこだわって誰が上だ下だってさ、最初は面白いと思ったけどすぐに飽きちゃった中身がないんだもんなんで人間って何でも規則を作りたがるんだろうね
Okay. Grimacing, Rin folded his hands behind his head and leaned into the backrest.
それが理由か。
ん
Why, what?
なんの
Why you're here?
リンがイグラに参加した理由。
Yeah.
あ
For an instant, the expression vanished from Rin's face. Akira told himself that it meant nothing, but this was just how Rin looked when lost in thought. Well, obviously he joined. He followed his team, right? But the void there, or like this one true friend, or something like that. But the void there was cold enough to make him shudder.
まあそんなとこかな
Oh.
俺はチームで参加してたんだけど解散してみんないなくなっちゃったしね
Tell me the name of your team. It was Borscht, wasn't it? I'm just gonna say Borscht because that's the only Russian thing I know. I don't remember the team name. I'm sorry. Rin's expression soon returned and he gave Akira a lonely smile. Perhaps this was a difficult subject for him.
そ
Yeah.
ういうアキラはなんでやっぱ同じ理由
Nah. Akira fumbled for an answer. He couldn't tell the truth after all.
そんなところだ。
Yikes.
そっかそれにしてもアキラもブラスターに参加してたなんてねなんか嬉しいな
Nanka urishina. So he said, it's not in the subtitles, but he said it made him kind of happy. Well, it's implied, but you know. Rin, who had been stretching his arms and legs out wide, suddenly leaned toward the door.
あらら大切なものが落ちてるよこれアキラの
Probably not, but I'll take it. Rin held up a bundle of tags. When Akira checked his jacket pocket, he couldn't feel any tags inside. They must have slipped out without his noticing. Not a surprise, given how distracted he'd been all night.
悪い。
いえいえどういたしましてでも気をつけないとダメだよ
Right?
俺じゃなかったら取られてたぞ
He took his tags back from Rin, 4 of his own plus the 5 he'd swiped made for 9 total. This was the first time he'd had a chance to examine the new tags in a place with good lighting. They were 2, 3, 5, 7, and 9, all pig tags. Yikes! They were black with blood, not Akira's. The silver-haired man hadn't bled either, at least not during their fight. This blood likely belonged to some previous owner. Eee.
アキラ寝なくて平気顔がどんよりしてきてるけど
Yeah. Especially with his nerves fried already. Akira pulled back as Rin peered at his face. Rin had a point. His thoughts felt like molasses, and his eyes were developing the grainy texture of fatigue. Perhaps talking about Blaster had relaxed Akira enough for his exhaustion to catch up with him.
ちょっと寝ておく疲れてるっしょ
Oh,
俺ついててあげてもいいよ
Rinny Rin.
いや、でも、
Yeah,
ケイスケを探さないと。
he's right.
そんなフラフラの状態で
He's also right. I mean, honestly, it would be wise for Akira to catch some Z's before going, you know? He should have slept in the first place. But he just puts himself into further danger if he goes out, like, dead asleep on his legs. I'm gonna, yeah. I feel like it's smart to take Rin's offer. Let me jot that down. Because, like, on the one hand, I feel like, yeah, you should go look for him already. But if Akira is really that dead on his feet, then he should really take a rest before going out into, you know, non-neutral territory. So, take Rin's offer. Makes the most sense. Let's be logical in an unlogical situation.
それじゃあ少しだけ。
Yeah.
ここ人目につくし、ちょっと移動しよっか。階段の隅っことか行こう
In
よ
the。staircase? I mean, the sofa is also not, you know, that cushy, but still. Can I rest my head on your lap, Rin? Rin returned his sack of potatoes. I always see sack of potatoes. Rin is a hungry boy. What can you say? He just eats them raw. Has like a huge pouch on him all the time. He returned his sack of potatoes to his waist pouch. Then jumped to his feet. With so much energy, it was hard to believe he'd been up all night. Forcing his knees to unbend, Akira roused himself. He felt as heavy as lead. Rin took Akira's bag. Together they cut across the lobby and entered the elevator hallway. None of the elevators were working. Next to them, beneath a broken exit light, was the door to the emergency staircase. It was dim with the lights off, but the staircase was still intact. They climbed up to the landing between the first and second floors. Rin squatted down by the corner, leaving just enough space for one other person.
アキラこっちね。寄りかかれるでしょ。
Oh, Rinny Rin. Rin patted the floor near the corner. Lowering himself where Rin had indicated, Akira shifted his weight against the wall and let out a slow breath.
ソファーより硬いけどさ、さっき座ってたやつってぶっ壊れてたし、あんまり変わらないよね。
Yikes.
そうだな。
むしろこっちの方が静かだし。さあ、安心して眠りなさい。
You know what? I'm starting to trust Rin and it makes me apprehensive, you know? It's just like, oh yeah, I really want to trust him. You know what I mean? It's just, I want to, but also this is so freaking vulnerable, this situation, innit? Rin gave Akira a joking rub on the head, but Akira no longer had the energy to respond. The moment he'd made up his mind to sleep, drowsiness had engulfed him. It felt like Rin's voice was coming from far away. Sleep gripped him like quicksand, sucking him gradually into its embrace. When Akira's eyelids finally gave up the fight and dropped, oblivion swallowed him instantly. He might be actually able to sleep well this time. It felt like someone was calling him. Casecade, probably. The static buzz of a radio. He was dreaming, again. The same dream he always forgot upon waking. He felt a strange floating sensation, as if his spirit had left his body. His thoughts scattered, swirling around him like dust. Try though he might, he could see nothing. Who is that? Is that... Oh, wait. Is that lion guy? No, not nothing. There in the darkness, brief glimpses of light. He didn't know what it was. If I'd just taken what? He didn't know. Okay. In the end, as always, only a choking sense of loss remained. Ah, so there's something important we forgot. Awareness returned without prelude. Where was he? In a daze, Akira tried to get up. A sharp pain shot through his head, making him grimace. It was the pain he experienced whenever he found himself dragged from a deep sleep. While waiting for the pain to subside, he looked around. He was sitting in a poorly lit stairwell. Now he remembered. He'd come here together with Rin. Wait. Rin was gone! He must have left while Akira was sleeping. When Akira shifted, something fell off his knees. At first he thought it was just a piece of paper. But no, it was a photograph. A photograph of Akira himself, slack-jawed and asleep. He turned it over to find something scribbled on the back. I was right! Be careful who you trust, seriously. He spent some time considering this message. What was Rin trying to say? Rin is trying to say he took all your tags, you asshole. When the answer came to him, he looked quickly at his bag. It was open. He pulled it to him and checked inside. Everything was right where he'd left it. Akira sighed and leaned back against the wall. Perhaps Rin had meant it as both a warning and a prank? He took out the phone the feds had given him to check the time of day. It was a little afternoon. He'd slept for quite a while. But your tags? Are your tags still there? The screen still showed no calls received. He returned the phone to his bag, grabbed a bottle, and wet his mouth with warm water. His mind felt clear for a change, with the exception of one lingering source of anxiety, Keisuke. Akira had to search for him, but he didn't know where to start. He knew almost nothing about his city. It would be dangerous to wander around, but staying here wouldn't fix things either. Motomi and Rin had offered to help. To be honest, he still had his doubts about those two, but there was no one else he could rely on. So, like, is Rin only doing a prank with that photo thing? Or did he just rob us? Like, I'm so confused. He just confirmed his bag, but what about the tags? Are the tags okay? I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter all that much because we only had one tag that was actually any good. Everything else was kind of pig. But also, it's like our only source of food, right? It was time to get moving. He figured he would try the club meal of duty first. Rin had said more people gathered there than in any other neutral zone. Someone there might have seen Keisuke. Good idea. Good thinking. Shouldering his bag, he stood up, crossed the lobby, passed through the broken automatic doors, and hit the road. So where has Rin gone? Has he just left? Kind of like, busy? There was little hope of locating a single person in a city this chaotic. To do so alone without a working knowledge of the local terrain would require nothing short of a miracle. And so, Akira's hopes now rested on the most unstable of foundations, word of mouth. Yikes. He headed for Meal of Duty, the club where fighters went to relax. On the way there, he discarded his bag, keeping only his phone, money, and tags. The bag had become a needless burden. So, he no longer has any food? Sorry, but I would never get rid of a bag. I get, like, keeping everything in your pant pockets or whatever. I mean, I wear dresses, so I don't really get it, but you know what I mean. But the bag, I would always keep a bag. You never know. You always need one. You always fucking need one. You never know how or why. But also, you really need food and water with you at all times. I don't know. I don't second this kind of reckless action. He walked swiftly past the now familiar line of ruined stores, then passed through the black door leading to the basement. Yeah, Mila Diddy! The naked bulbs in the stairwell were off. All he could see were the first few steps by the entrance. Everything further in was pitch black. Is it closed? Akira descended into this black hole without a moment's pause. After reaching the last step, he swung the inner door open. Unlike last time, there was no gut-pounding bass to greet him. Instead, a choking stench filled his nose. He peered inside. Oh my god. What the fuck? Akira stood petrified in the doorway, unable to process what his eyes were seeing. Everything was covered in blood! The floor, the walls, the ceiling, bright red, as if painted with a giant brush. The air was thick with the smell of rust. Misshapen lumps of various sizes floated in the pool of blood, covering the dance floor! Yikes! I thought this was supposed to be neutral! Bodies, no, parts of bodies. One lay close to his feet, tangled inside a clump of hair. Let's leave! He looked away. Usually I would be like, loot everything you can and then leave. But this isn't a video game. Let's just go! He looked away, overcome by disgust. Who had done this? Why? The sound of footsteps cut into Akira's confusion. Tap, tap. Someone is descending the stairs behind him. Hide, bitch! Get some of the blood on you and just lay on the floor and act like you're dead. He sensed undisguised malice. Who was it? Seeking options, Akira frantically looked from the bar to the staircase and back again. The thought of setting foot inside the slaughterhouse turned his stomach, but he had no choice. He steeled himself and stepped onto the red floor, then moved toward the back and turned to face the entrance. His entire body felt sticky, as though he'd bathed in blood from head to toe, but he forced himself to focus on the approaching presence. How does it work, though? I mean, I know that the floor is covered in blood, but why would you feel covered in blood? Or is it just like a mental thing? Finally, a man emerged from the dark stairwell. Akira's eyes went wide. Huh?
What?
Ah! Takeru! Akira had not forgotten that black leather jacket nor that shock of dyed blue hair. It was Takeru, standing there with a grin on his face. His oversized knife dangled from one hand.
世話になったな。
Like, seriously, what is your issue, Takeru? Something was wrong. Why was Takeru so calm? He was standing at the entrance of an ocean of gore, yet seemed completely unfazed. So he did all this? And then there were his eyes. Had they always been so keen? So hungry? His attitude and actions had been violent before, but beneath it all, Akira had seen a clear, driving purpose. Now there was no trace of that. Staring silently at Takeru, Staring silently at Takeru, Akira moved his hand toward the knife at his hip.
なんだよ。いきなりやろうってのが。
Listen, I'm not here for that. I'm just here to
お
find...
前を潰しに来たんだからさ。
I'm just here to find someone, and it's not you. Can I just go? Takeru laughed deep in his throat as he stirred the blood puddle with the toe of his boot, then kicked a chunk of meat in Akira's... and landed at his feet with a dull, wet sound.
ぐちゃ
Yikes.
ぐちゃにしてやるよ。こんな風にな。
Sorry, I'm not here for that. I'm just gonna go. If you don't mind. Takeru glared down his nose at Akira, a savage smile on his lips. There was a strange light in his eyes, as if his irises were clouded. It couldn't be.
ぶっ殺してやる。
Yeah, you took fucking drugs, man. Takeru sprang forward with a powerful slash. Caught off guard, Akira retreated. The knife passed millimeters from his face. Takeru's movements were nothing like before. Finally freeing his knife from his sheath, Akira caught Takeru's second slash at the hilt. The shock numbed his arm to the bone. Yikes! He parried, leapt back a few paces, and rightened himself. Instead of pressing the attack, Takeru stared at Akira with a quizzical tilt of his head.
こないだの勢いはどうしたよ。なあ。
See? Imagine what would have happened if we hadn't slept, right? Akira would have been double dead. But also, maybe we would have arrived here before all this happened and we wouldn't have met Takeru. Whatever. This sudden increase in strength, there could be no doubt.
お前、ラインを使ったのか。
Takeru laughed.
ああ、使ったよ。だからなんだ。
Yikes.
今までなんてもったいないことしてたんだと思ってるくらいだぜ。
I mean, you know how using it
すげえ
ends,
力が
though.
手に入るんならな。
You just put like a worse expiration date on yourself. You went from an expiration date of bread to like an expiration date of whole milk. Can you tell that I haven't eaten today? Anyway, Takeru lunged at Akira again. Akira held his stance, bracing for the impact, but then he realized that Takeru's vector had diverged from what he'd expected.
どこ見てんだよ。
Akira had read him wrong! No! Takeru suddenly dropped into a leg sweep. Unable to dodge, Akira toppled to the floor. Blood wet and sticky clung to his flesh. Ew! Something large and black rushed at his face. Oh, well. Anyway, he immediately raised his arms, crossed to protect his head. No, please. Takeru's heavy boot exploded against his guard. Sorry. Yikes. In that case, can I just leave, bro? The kicks kept coming. His bones shrieked with each impact. Oh, God damn it! I did nothing to you.
十分だ。
Takeru stepped back and looked down at Akira with a sneer. Hoping to catch him by surprise, Akira swung a kick at his ankle.
うわ。
Yikes.
まるで亀みてえだな。
Wow, it's almost like you kicked my skull in! Or like my arm, I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Takeru dodged the blow with ease.
ラインなんか使ったらどうなるか分かってるのか。
I mean, he should know, right? Akira had seen enough similar cases to know. Once a drug like that got a hold of you, there was nowhere to run. You might think you had the strength to beat it, but what was self-control in the face of such temptation? Yikes. Like a pit of quicksand, it would devour you whole. Yeah.
分かってるか。
Seriously, Takeru, you freaking dumbass. A vein on Takeru's temple twitched. His sneer had vanished entirely.
おい。一回言ってみろよ。
know what? You should just give me the address of your sister and I'll take over taking care of her. Like, seriously, I don't think you will ever return to her. And it's sad to say that, but that's just how it is. You took the final step. You doomed yourself to begin with, but you took the final step. Akira groaned as Takeru kicked him hard in the side. He didn't know what to think. The shift in Takeru's demeanor was too sudden and too drastic. Almost like it did something to his brain. Yeah, that's horrible. Takeru's howl echoed strangely off the blood-soaked walls. His mother. So that was why Takeru had never used rain before, despite his desperate need to win. But then why? But is it worth destroying yourself like this? Is it? For some reason, Keisuke's face flickered through the back of his head. Why me? I don't understand. Takeru threw another kick. Oh, okay. Takeru threw another kick into Akira's guard. Akira barely felt the blow. By this point, he could barely feel his arms. Ow! How about leave me the fuck alone, please? For a second, his numb arms slipped out of place. He turned his head to protect his face, but another kick came in before he could get the block back in place. Ow! No, not my face! The blow shook Akira's brain like a rattle. His vision blurred and he nearly lost consciousness. But before he could, Takeru grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Fingers clamped down on his windpipe. He scrabbled, trying to peel them away, but the grip was tight like ivy. Dude, my friend, I have someone to fight for too. I gotta find him. He's gonna die without me. Takeru's voice seemed distant, like part of a dream. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Takeru, but I'm weak as shit. Beating me means nothing. There's so many people that beat me to crap by this point, right? I barely won a fight ever. The blood vessels in Akira's skull throbbed like they were about to rupture. As his vision narrowed, flashing red and white, he struggled to focus on Takeru's face. Though the man wore a crazed smile, at the same time he appeared to be crying. Oh god. Like, reach out and pat him on his face. Like, on his head. Yeah. It'll stun him. He's not going to expect you patting his head. A muscle in his neck spasmed furiously. What? What? No! I never did that shit in my life. Takeru's thumb suddenly pressed down hard on his Adam's apple. He tried to cough, but nothing came out. It felt like his larynx would shatter. What is a larynx? I never said shit like that. Stop putting words in my mouth. Takeru's eyes may have been fixed on Akira, but he was seeing something else entirely. Shit. A numbing white fog blanketed Akira's thoughts. His fingers were losing strength. Their frantic scrabbling had slowed to a crawl. This is it. But just as he heard Death's footsteps approaching, Takeru abruptly loosened his grip and leaned in close to his ear. Yo. Oh man, bro! I was thinking, well, at least he wouldn't do shit like that, you know? At least he's different. That's what I was thinking this entire time. Are you fucking serious? Oh man, leave me alone. I've done nothing to you. He whispered, his voice infused with peculiar glee. What? Well, we're all a little gay on the inside. Me especially. And you too, let's be honest. You who's watching, you're also a little gay. Maybe a little bit more. It always makes me want to puke. Got any idea what it feels like? Yikes. No thanks. Sorry, but I'm into consensual intercourse. This isn't what I'm here for. I mean, I'm into consent, you know? His wet tongue crawled slowly up Akira's jaw toward his neck. Cheek. But if you don't enjoy it either, why should you put yourself through that pain once again? You know what I mean? Just leave me alone, please. Images flashed through Akira's mind in vivid detail, a victorious fighter defining his vanquished opponent. A chill of revulsion ran up his spine, almost as if it were happening to him. No, not as if. Takeru's tongue slid from Akira's cheek to his mouth, traced his lips, then pushed against them with a light teasing pleasure. Don't steal my first kissu! Although Takeru had eased his grip somewhat, he was still pressing down on Akira's windpipe. When Akira tried to turn his face away, those fingers stuck in harder, drawing a choked sob from his throat. What? Akira felt a sharp pain on his lower lip and tasted blood. Takeru must have bitten him. Takeru sucked loudly at the spot, then pulled his face away. Isn't blood... Is he also going to die like that last asshole? You know? Maybe this will confirm my theory. If he's licking Akira's blood after taking rain, and he strokes out too, then the theory kind of has more more weight to it. Oh, thank God. I mean, not thank God, but like, also thank God. Fuck me. I mean, no, not fuck me, please. Like, the opposite of that. Just kill me at this point, you know what? Confusing feelings. The fingers around Akira's throat squeezed. Just let me go, man. This is enough, alright? This has been too much, too many emotions. Can I just go? The fingers around Akira's throat squeezed, sending a fresh wave of vertigo to batter him senseless. Okay. In his rapidly narrowing field of vision, Akira could see nothing but Takeru's eyes, burning with a twisted and murderous joy. Pain and fear were distant now. His thoughts were sinking into a lake of red, becoming one with the blood-covered dance floor. Murder on the dance floor! Everything red. Everything red. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah! He's also stroking out! Just as Akira was about to lose consciousness, Takeru suddenly let go of his throat. Oh my God! It is Akira's blood in combination with rain. Akira crumpled to the floor, coughing violently. The sudden influx of oxygen was too much for his bruised windpipe. It felt like he was still being strangled, but he fought through the lingering pain and looked up. Takeru was standing, arm outstretched, as if frozen in the strangling position. His fingers were twitching violently. You shouldn't have drank my blood, like some weird twisted vampire creature, which you are not. Hands off the blood, bro. It's I told you it's Strange groans spilled from Takeru's lips as he took a single unsteady step back. His eyes were open as wide as they would go, and his forehead glistened with a thick layer of sweat. Obviously something was wrong. Like, Akira, you're still worried about him? You don't even know his whole sobbing backstory that we know, you know? Why are you so... Yeah, life's horrible, isn't it? His pupils were unfocused and the muscles of his face twitched as if he were fighting some inner demon. Please don't pull out your eye. Yo, okay. Suddenly, Takeru threw his head back and screamed. His entire body was twitching now. Not just his hands. Saliva dripped from the corners of his mouth, thrown wide to accommodate harsh, gasping breaths. Had something like this happened before? As he gaped in horror, part of Akira fumbled for the memory that had briefly graced his mind. Yeesh. Even while paralyzed by convulsions, Takeru still managed to fix his eyes on Akira. Their hate was undiminished. Seeing this, Akira grabbed his fallen knife and jumped to his feet, then made a break for the open door. What? Why? No! No way! I'm going! Bye! He shook off Takeru's grasping fingers, shot up the stairs, and burst onto the street. Like, I'm sorry, man, but like, this got nothing to do with me. I gotta go. A crashing sound echoed from below. Not safe yet, he kept running. The scenery rushed by in a blur. He had no idea where he was going, but that could wait. This was no time for taking stock. Time for a shower! His breaths were louder than usual. He gulped for air, trying to bring it under control. Each time, the crushing pain in his throat reminded him of what he had narrowly escaped. Yeah, being choked is a bitch. Hitting a dead end, he put his back to the wall and slid to the ground. Yeesh! Oh, Takeru vision. His ragged breaths filled the crushing darkness of the alley. Takeru dragged his feet ponderously forward, supporting himself with one hand against the wall. Every step was a battle against brutal, ripping pain. This is what had felled him back there in the club, a sudden, inexplicable agony that erupted from his throat like molten rock, and set fire to every cell in his body. It had felt like his muscles would tear themselves to ribbons, like his nerves and veins would burn to ash. Ow! That pain was still with him, even now. Yet despite the torment that racked his body, his senses remained terrifyingly clear, thanks to Rain. His body was light, free of burdens, free of everything but the sound of his own heart. He could taste the air his enemy's scent. He knew which way Akira had gone. What the fuck?! You can just smell me?! See, I really should have taken that shower! Oh, no! Oh, stop, please! Please, please, I know I'm hot, but leave me alone. It was all his fault, all of it. Why? It's his fault, Yo! Just let me go! I've done nothing to you! A surge of pain almost brought him to his knees. His nails dug onto the thick coating of dirt on the wall. Raising his head, he sniffed like a dog. This way. Bro, what the fuck?! His blood-stained mouth formed a ghastly smile. It felt like he could chase Akira to the ends of the earth. Oh! Bitch, leave me alone. I have my own shit to deal with, okay? He could see it clearly in his mind's eye. Those cool, composed features. The face of a man who had never known defeat. Twisted in a wordless scream. We've known defeat, okay? The only win we've had ever since coming to this place. The only win we've had was by sheer luck and other person giving up. You know what I mean? Other person giving up or being incapacitated. Not by us being a good fighter, by the way. So, I don't know. That emotionless voice pleading for mercy while he writhed in a pool of his own blood. How would he react when Takeru stomped his severed limbs into paste? Yikes! The thought made all the hairs on his body stand with pleasure. What the fuck? Yeah. You're too far gone, my sweetheart. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna do my best to look after your sister for you, because that's the least I can do. But also, like, I have no idea who you are, and, fuck you. You're too far gone. Someone grabbed his shoulder hard from behind. Impossible. He hadn't sensed anyone there, even though his senses were not so acute as to track Akira by smell alone. Is it Lion Guy? He whirled, lashing out with his arm his assailant had grabbed. Nobody was going to interrupt his hunt and get away with it. But though his aim was true, the only sound he heard was a light smack as the person caught his fist with ease. No matter how he pushed or pulled, his enemy's strength held him fast. Shock and fear stabbed through him like a needle of ice. Takeru looked up, face clammy with sweat. He knew this man. Where The man's lips twitched. His fingers tightened around Takaru's fist like a vice. The tiny bones of his hands screamed out in distress. Takaru struggled to free himself, but it was like the man's grip had fused with his skin. How? Confusion raged in Takaru's skull. Rain was supposed to have granted him superhuman strength. It had allowed him to make short work of that so-called blaster champion. But then how? Yurei? Takaru roared, fighting back with every ounce of strength he possessed. No answer. A trickle of sweat touched his eye, his vision blurred. You are not having a good life. I'm so sorry. His arm muscles bulged on the brink of rupture, his blood boiled, his sight flashed crimson. A horrible sound shook his body, bones crunching, flesh tearing. Something hot and liquid ran down his arm. Ah! Ew! Oh! Oh god, you don't deserve this. I'm so sorry. A wail surged from the back of his throat. The man had crushed Takaru's fist like an apple right before his very eyes. Now free, he stumbled back until he hit the wall and slid to the ground. His left hand clutched his ruined fist, struggling in vain to hold it together. Fresh blood overflowed between his fingers. Yo! A shadow fell over him. So it's not Shiki. The clothes make me kind of think that it might be Rin. I don't know. The man was smiling. As Takaru watched, he licked the blood and gore from his hand. Ew. What is with all the blood licking in this game? What the fuck? Takaru stared up at him, quaking with terror. He had realized that his rain-enhanced strength meant nothing here. His chest heaved rapidly, breath whistling in his throat. The man reached out and grabbed Takaru by the head. He was helpless to resist, so instead he screamed. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. You don't deserve this. The man squeezed. A hideous crunch reverberated through his skull. He could feel the fingers sinking deeper and deeper. A ringing smell swelled to fill his ears, devouring every other sensation. Ay. Oh god, this is so sad. Okay. His sister, Yukari, ran up to him as fast as her little feet would carry her. Her bright smile echoed the joy in her voice. You know, if this was really all for her, you should have just stayed with her. You know, even if you're dirt poor, just stay with Yukari. You know what I mean? What are you doing here, Yukari? You were? Oh god. He looked up. Sure enough, his mother and father were standing there. The last he'd seen of them, his mother had been strapped to a bed and his father reduced to a lifeless husk. But now they were smiling. Oh, she got better. What a relief. Yukari looked down, blushing. It's almost like that's what she needed all along. Oh, but I haven't beaten Irei yet. I've got to get rich so I can make you all happy. What? All of a sudden, Takaru realized that Yukari's outstretched hands were full of rain ampules. Many lay scattered at her feet as well. I really did it? Then we'll never be hungry or sad again. Yukari hung her head, face suddenly sorrowful. What's wrong? Aren't you happy? I'll buy you all the clothes and toys you want. Yeah. 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 Exactly. But what are you saying? I'm here now, aren't I? I came back to be with you. Girl, you're dead. How? Oh god, this is so sad. This is so fucking sad. Tears spilled down Yukari's cheeks. Her face was a pitiful sight. Hey, don't cry. What's the matter? I'll be with you always now. I'll protect you and Mom and Dad and forever. So please don't cry. The pressure rose. It felt like his eyeballs would burst from his skull. One last instant of all-consuming terror, and then darkness claimed him. Oh God. Oh God. This is... A man walked quietly into the alley, now empty but for the wind. Takeru's corpse lay slumped against the wall. The man stopped and knelt beside it. Hello, lion guy. His appearance was singular. Brown hair so light it was almost blonde, near-transparent white skin, pale blue eyes. It was the man who had given Takeru rain. I call him Lion Guy because I have no idea what his name is. He laid his hand against the side of Takeru's bloody neck. There was no pulse, and his body was cold. Takeru's eyes were still open in a rictus of fear. The man reached out and closed them gently, then stood and licked Takeru's blood from his fingertips. Blood licking again! His face betrayed nothing, not pity, not tenderness. He did close his eyes. But as the taste blossomed on his tongue, a certainty blossomed with it. So who killed him? Because Lion Guy's clothes were different from the shadow. And also the machete thing didn't look like the katana of Shiki. Also, Shiki is using a sword, right? Why would he crush someone with bare hands? So who was it that killed him? Rain? Rain is the only one that I can think of that has clothes like that. Or Kakeru also has clothes like that. But it's Kakeru, Was his name Kakeru? No, not Kakeru. Keisuke. Sorry. Yikes. I was thinking this sounds wrong. Why is it wrong? Drawing breath was still a struggle. It kept catching in his throat, triggering fresh bouts of coughing. While recovering from the latest, Akira pressed his hands to his forehead and shut his eyes. He could not shake Takeru's image from his mind. Those eyes, filled with terror and hate, the way he'd clutched at his neck as if fighting some unimaginable pain. It had happened so suddenly, without any sign of what was coming. Why? Then, as he remembered why it had seemed so familiar, the silver-haired man who had attacked him on the street, he too had broken down in the middle of their fight, racked by an agony that had come without warning, after slurping his blood. And rain. The two incidents were much too similar to write off as coincidence. Could their symptoms be a side effect of using rain? There was no question that Takeru had been using. He'd admitted as much, and though the silver-haired man had not done the same, his eyes had possessed the same clouded appearance. A reaction to rain, it made sense. There was no telling what havoc a drug like that might wreak on your body. But also, maybe, Lion Guy and Akira are siblings who were, who were separated because of war and stuff and, new families and all that shit. So maybe Akira doesn't really remember Lion Guy, but Lion Guy remembers Akira, and which is why Akira's blood is special because they share the same blood, and Lion Guy is kind of involved with the drug making and all that shit. Okay. Rain then, but what was that all? For some reason, Akira felt like he was overlooking something, though he couldn't put his finger on what. He let out a small breath and rose to his feet. More thinking wouldn't get him anywhere. As his head cooled, sensations returned to his body. His joints felt like they were on fire. The blood from his bitten lip had crusted, so he wetted a bit with his tongue before wiping it with the back of his hand. His arms in particular were bruised and swollen from Takeru's pummeling. Even the slightest touch brought stinging pain. Back to the hotel we go! The one bright spot was that nothing seemed to be broken. After confirming that his arm still worked, Akira pushed himself away from the wall and started walking. He barely made it one step, however, before a tingle at the base of his skull stopped him cold. Someone was nearby. He looked up. The other person seemed to have noticed his presence as well. The air was taut, presaging violence. Had Takeru caught up with him? No, Takeru has caught up with death. I'm sorry, Akira. In the darkness, he could perceive little more than the figure's outline, but he sensed its eagerness to fight. Akira dropped into a low stance and drew his knife. All of a sudden, the shadow charged. He saw a flash like a mirror in the darkness and whipped his knife up to catch it. But the moments their blades clashed... Ren! Oh my god, it was Ren. I'm telling you, it fucking was Ren. He heard a familiar voice. His opponent's malice vanished in the blink of an eye, as did the pressure on his knife. It was Rin!
なんだよ、アキラか。びっくりした。うっかり仕掛けちゃったじゃん。
Yeah. 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 Okay. Well, good to see you, Rin. He smiled from ear to ear. The change from the shadow who'd attacked him was jarring. Still tense, Akira silently returned his knife to his sheath. Tucking his own weapon back into his waist pouch, Rin gave Akira a sidelong glance, then let out a strange-sounding laugh. Without warning, he threw his arms around Akira. His golden hair billowed up, tickling the end of Akira's nose. That's so cute!
おい、離れろよ。
だってせっかくの再会なのに、いいじゃん、こんくらい。
Don't touch me with the hands that you just crushed like Takeru's skull with, please.
再会っていうほどのもんでもないだろう。
When he tried to peel himself away, Rin started pouting.
なんだよ、ノリ悪いの。ちょっとぐらい合わせてくれたっていいじゃんよ。
Seriously, be nice to Rin.
離れろ。
Boo. Boo. Rin jumped a step back and shot him a glare, but soon his eyes went round and wide.
レレ、アキラ、なんかすっごいげっそりしてない？どうしたの？
Not possible. Just a long shoot.
いや。
Cookies to anyone who got that reference. Rin's question made him recall the carnage at the club. He looked away. He didn't want to talk about it. Well, you should probably tell Rin.
とりあえず何か食べれば？水とか。そうい
Yeah.
や、バッグ持ってなかった？
途中で捨てた。
Damas!
へえ、捨てたんだ。そっか。って、何？捨てたの？
Yeah, that was what I was thinking too.
あ、
水も？ソリダも？消毒液とかも全部？
Ah! When he nodded, Rin's expression gradually shifted from shock to anger. You
交換
dumbass!
してやったやつじゃんか。何考えてんだよ、恩知らず。
悪い。
You're not sorry.
ないくせ
Yeah!
に謝らないでよね。もう、どうせ邪魔だったとかそんな理由なんでしょ。
Bro, you cannot be fucking serious. Why is he such a dumbass? Rin fixed him with a steady sideways glare, then abruptly looked away.
まあ、いいけどさ。どうせアキラなんてそんなやつだと思ってた
So
し。
he knows about the club.
クラブ？
That's why he killed Takeru, probably.
そうそう。クラブにいた連中が皆殺しにされたの。もうすっごいありさまでさ。今それ見てきたとこだったんだけどね。俺、グロいのとか結構平気な方なんだけどさ。
A sea of crimson rose behind Akira's eyelids. He closed his eyes hard for a moment, struggling to dispel the illusion.
アキラも見たの？
Yeah.
いや。
Akira, stop fucking lying, you dumbass bitch! You have blood all over you.
なんか顔色悪いからさ。大丈夫？
Yeah, well, I got licked again.
あ、
That is such a weird thing to say. And even weirder that it's accurate. We get licked every single day. Ever since Akira got to this place, he gets licked every day. Oh my god. He turned away when Rin tried to get a closer look at his expression. Rin's face clouded. He'd apparently come up with his own idea for why Akira was acting this way.
ケイスケのこと。やっぱり。
Yeah.
前も言ったけどさ、本当この街って最悪だけど、意外となんとかなっちゃったりするからさ。隠れる場所もいっぱいあったりするし。
I'm more afraid that he's gotten picked up by someone strange, you know? Like how Akira gets, like, you know, molested every chance anyone gets. I feel like maybe, oh my god, worst case scenario. Oh god, oh no. Let's not come up with any more theories. I can't
ホテルの
handle.
方に戻ってきたりするかもしれないしさ。だから前向きに考えようよ。アキラがぶっ倒れちゃったら意味ないじゃん。
Honestly, Akira was grateful for Rin's concern, but he couldn't shake the insidious doubt that still smoldered inside him. Was Rin speaking from the heart? Why was he so friendly? Because Rin wants a friend. What did he really want? Or Rin is Ilrei, and he already knows exactly why Akira is there. That ice-cold stare he'd glimpsed at the coffee shop still weighed on his mind.
あ、そうだ。あのさ、今度でもいいんだけど、いいとこに連れてってあげよっか。
Okay, seeing Akira's dubious expression, Rin laughed and flapped his hand.
変なとこじゃないから安心してよ。 俺だけの特等席なんだけどね。アキラは特別に連れてってあげようかな。きっとあれ見ると気分がスッとするよ。悩みとかなんかすっごく。
Suddenly, Rin stopped talking and looked over his shoulder. The noise from the street had grown louder than ever. Akira heard people running and shouting. It sounded like they were saying, Shiki! Yes! Rin had fallen silent when Akira glanced at him, wondering why what he saw there rooted his eyes to the spot. That chilling stare, it was the same as before.
Oi.
Yo! Gripped by an inexplicable unease, he called out. Rin immediately looked up with a gasp. His eyes widened as if he'd forgotten Akira was even there.
ごめん。今から連れてこうと思ってたんだけど、ちょっと無理みたい。そうだ。
You know, you could talk to us. With quick, frantic motions, Rin took a pen and paper out of his waist bag, scribbled something down, and thrust the paper into Akira's hand.
ここがその場所だから、明日の夜待ってるから来てよね。絶対ね。
Oh, he's so cute. Oh my god. I can't. He's really cute. With that, he turned and dashed out of the alley. As he stood there, slightly dazed, Akira unfolded the crumpled scrap of paper in his hands. It bore an extremely simple map and a scrawled note. According to this, Rin's private box was in a black, well-walled building on the north side of the main street, soon after one entered the northern part of the city. He tucked the note into his jacket pocket and leaned back against the wall. Shiki. Rin's expression had transformed the instant he heard that name. It seemed likely that Rin had left to chase after this Shiki, whoever he was. Why was Rin so obsessed with him? Maybe he really did just want to take his picture. If sightings were as rare as they seemed, it made sense that he would run off like that. But that would explain the look in his eyes. As he departed, he'd made Akira promise to meet him tomorrow night. Perhaps it would be worth keeping that promise. Yeah, you should! Now that he was alone, Akira's exhaustion hit him all at once. Even the air he breathed felt thick in his lungs. Every second mattered when it came to looking for Keisuke, but his aching body demanded rest. Yeah. Moving away from the wall, he found an abandoned building and sat down just inside the door. Memories and emotions whirled through his mind, but weariness smothered them, and his thoughts as well. He closed his eyes and listened to the silence. Before he knew it, he sank into a dreamless sleep. In an alleyway by yourself? Are you kidding me? He didn't know how long he had slept, though fatigue and pain still lingered in his body. He felt considerably lighter than before. He extracted his phone, which he was using in place of a clock, from his jacket pocket and checked his screen. It was close to sundown, and the area was already dark. Time to head for a neutral zone! Despite the fact that Emma had yet to contact him, he had not once used the device as intended. It was still fairly convenient to have. Akira went outside, planning to head for the hotel. It was the only neutral zone he knew of, now that the club was gone. What had become of Takeru since then? Was he still looking for Akira, or why did he care what happened to the man? If he ran into Takeru again, he would be lucky to escape with his life. And yet, the fact was that Akira didn't want Takeru dead. Akira, you're such a good guy. You don't even know what we know. He didn't really understand why he felt that way. Perhaps it was because he had caught a glimpse of something inside Takeru, some seething passions that set him apart from the other Igra fighters. But there were more pressing matters. Maybe it was because he was giving us a kissu and now we're attached? From Akira's current location, the fastest way to the hotel. Listen, a good kiss can do a lot, alright? Okay. Was probably to head back through the nightlight district, so he took off lopping down the dim alleyways. Lopping down? As he neared the club, he spotted people standing in the street. Judging by their scowls, there were regulars who had arrived to find that their favorite spot was closed permanently. Several were peering past the open door that led to the basement entrance. The scent of iron brushed his nose. He sped up, hoping to shake the memory of that deep red tableau. Horrifying.
いやもうすっげえあれ様だったよ。ああいうのを地獄絵図っつうのかもな。
Yikes.
ここ結構良かったんだけどな。
Wait,
ラインも他のとこよりちょい安く手に入ったしよ。
wait, did that other guy just say Shikoku? Isn't that the name for Japanese hell? Isn't it? So is it hell in there? Like, what? Does it smell like hell in there? I mean, it does probably. Whatever. I'm just excited to hear that word because I'm a huge Hozuki fan. Shit. And I really like that place. You could get rain here on the cheap. Yikes.
そうそう。でももう無理だろうな。
Yeah.
ありゃいくら掃除したって取れねえよ。天井にまで飛び散ってんだぜ、血が。あ、そうなの。どうせなら生きがってた目障りな野郎とかがついでに死んじゃっててくれると嬉しいんだけど。
Kind of seemed indiscriminate.
こっから血まみれの男が出てきてふらふらさまよってたって話は聞いた気がすんな。
Yeesh.
死に損ないじゃねえの。
Akira slowed and bent his ear. Two men were talking, one in a blue t-shirt, one in black. The blood-covered man they spoke of. Takeru? Maybe he was still nearby. You know what? You're lucky that Takeru is dead. Honestly, you're lucky he was dead. He was getting insanely creepy and insidious. Distracted by his thoughts, he failed to notice the duo turning to walk past him. His shoulder bumped against the man in the blue shirt.
何ボケーっと突っ立ってんだよ。
Oh, fuck you, man. The man cocked his head and drew his brows together, the classic street punk glare.
悪い。待てよ。
The man grabbed Akira's shoulder before he could walk away. Akira turned his head to regard the man coldly. These two meant nothing to him, and he had places to be. Their faces darkened. They had picked up on his lack of regard, not that he tried to hide it.
なんだよその態度は。
Oh my
悪いじゃ済まされ
god.
ねえんだよ。
Fuck off, man.
なんとか言えってんだよ。
Why? You wanna fight? You wanna fucking go? We have spectators. The man spun Akira and grabbed him by the shirt collar, then froze and let out a low whistle. His eyes were glued to the tack around Akira's neck.
おい、こいつジャック持ってやがる。
Yeah.
マジでやっちまえば。こないだやったやつもキング持ってやがってよ。2回連続で当たるなんてラッキーだな。
You have a king? Yeah, let's fucking go! The man holding Akira's shirt cracked his knuckles with a predatory smile. Both men were wearing tags, Igra fighters obviously, and probably the sort who joined for the chance to kill. They seemed fairly confident in their strength as well. Well, they're drug users, so they've got rain in them.
話せよ。あ?
The man put on a mocking smile.
よく聞こえなかったな。話せって言ったんだ。
Ooh. By the time the words had left his lips, his knife was already out of his sheath. With one smooth motion, he traced a bright arc in the air before his eyes. A faint red line appeared on the man's cheek. He still had no idea what had happened. Oh my god, Akira is finally showing his strength. Meanwhile, Akira slipped his grip and stepped back, then pointed to his own cheek to keep the man in the loop.
切れてるぞ。
Ooh! The instant the man touched the wound on his cheek, he went bright red and erupted in anger. He yanked a switchblade from his back pocket and opened the blade with a click. In contrast, Akira's head was perfectly cool. He felt nothing. It was like being back in Blaster.
来るならさっさと来いよ。
Ooh.
この野郎。
Fucking A!
切りつけてやる。
Are you from my hometown? Fucking A! Ah! At some point, a circle of spectators had formed around them. From time to time, they burst out jeering. Knife at the ready, the man dropped into a loose stance, eyes nailed to Akira, and began circling for an opening. The man took the initiative, dancing on the balls of his feet like a boxer. He closed the range quickly and slashed at Akira's neck. Akira dodged the slash and answered with one of his own, a probing strike designed to take his opponent's measure. The crowd roared in approval, but Akira paid it no mind. Though he hadn't meant for this to happen, the fact was that he was now in an Igra match. Okay, I can't read anymore, and I really need to take a break because it's already been an hour, like past an hour. So I'm really sorry for this fucking cliffhanger. I'll be back soon with another part, okay? I'm pre-recording this entire series anyway before putting it up on YouTube because I know my bad habits. So, yeah. You won't have to wait. Just go to the next part, please. I'm so sorry anyway. And have a nice day. Get yourself a cup of tea and be safe, please. Have a nice evening or day, whichever applies. And I'll see you in the next one, okay? Bye-bye.